Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest edition of RE059, where I update old narrations I've done to modern audio standards. This particular one is called A Package Deal, written by Infernalism. You certain? As certain as I can be. We've looked at it from 6 different directions, and our tech priests all agree that it is legitimate, a real signal from another world. The Praethan was a pragmatic people, but still steeped in their faiths. When the signal was first detected on a device that had been engineered to listen for gravimetric distortions on near-world space, they'd immediately sought out the tech priests. Rance, it's only been a few days, and you're telling me that it's artificial? More than that, it's a message. We're certain of it. And you're certain because? When the Praethan needed to hash things out, they usually did so in a large open area, best described as an open auditorium, filled with rocks to lounge on and with artificial steam vents all around them, venting scented steam every so often. It was incredibly relaxing. Legend said that every major advancement that they'd achieved came while discussing it in lounging pits. Because it's a binary language, incredibly simple, it looks like it was designed to be deciphered. It barely took any time at all. All of this is wonderful, Rance, but why? Wait, you've already deciphered it. It's only been a few days. Just get the conclave together, Vex. The tech priests are still sorting out the message. The heads of the Praethan people, all 6 continents were not used to being summoned, but here they were, all the same, brought together by the head of technology priesthood and the leader of the engineering caste, which was not something that happened all that often. So rare was it, in fact, that most would have rejected the summons were it not for the curiosity as to what could possibly bring these 2 rival groups together in a singular focus. The lounging pits were all heated, but no steam vents, which irked a few. But apparently there was a real desire to keep people focused and not half asleep from the scented steam. The curiosity was doubled by the announcement that a real honest-to-God signal from outside their world, and it was grew by a power of 10 when they informed the signal was already decoded and ready for them to hear. Tech Priest Rantha Dawa, have you heard this message already? No, Principate. It was not my place to listen, only to prepare. The message itself is ready for you to hear, though there are some distortions in there that we have since filtered out. The several hundred Praethan leaders muttered amongst themselves before a few booming cracks of the ritual stone upon the floor by the Principate, head of the conclave, brought them to silence. You may play it now. And with a nod and a touch upon built-in monitor screen, the room was filled with a jabbering of some sort. A series of grunts and explosive verbal enunciations filled the auditorium for a few seconds before the babbling immediately shifted to Praethian. Manatee, this message will repeat in 5 minutes. Faces turned to the tech priest, slight confusion, as they obviously weren't prepared for the use of their own terminology in the message. Where possible, we have substituted our own terminology for technical terms to make the message as clear as possible to minimize confusion. And how do you know that you got the translation right? That'll be explained momentarily. The conclave was already curious and would likely have demanded answers on the spot right then, except, Hello, my name is John McGregor, pilot, United States Air Force. A person, an alien person, was suddenly speaking to them. If you are receiving this message, then you're both technically capable of receiving it and translating it, and curious enough to hear what it has to say. I come bearing a message amongst other things, but to understand this footing, you need to understand a few things. Our world is called Earth, and is very likely to be very far from your own world, out in one of the arms of the spiral galaxy that we have named the Milky Way. We don't know what kind of world you live on, but ours was largely lush with life, even in the most inhospitable of places. We misused our world for so long, but we were finally started to realize that and just started to do something about it when it happened. It was the beginning of the growing season in one part of our world, the northern half, when it was discovered that all of our crops were being born without the ability to germinate seeds. Our livestock, likewise, were giving birth to stillborn young. 2 Praethan leaders whispered at each other here and there. What's livestock? They apparently grew their animals for slaughter instead of hunting them. Sounds boring. Maybe they weren't the hunting type. Shrugs were exchanged. It only took a few days to realize that it was happening to us as well. Something somehow had robbed us of the ability to breed. Worse still, it wasn't limited. It seemed to be affecting all living things, plant and animal alike, across our world. A horrifying thought there. The collection hissed at each other, slowly coming to realize that they were listening to the voice of a dead man. We were never a unified people. We fought wars over resources and religions and politics. But we had come so close to getting past that before the fate fell on us. A good portion of our people fell into despair, malaise, and apathy. Many killed themselves. Those that remained threw themselves into discovering who had murdered us. We discovered a few things. First, we discovered the source, a viral attack. We recognized that the structure of the virus was alien from anything we'd ever seen on our world. It attacked all manner of life, down to the microscopic level. And, most surprising of all, it wasn't trying to dominate or overtake the biosphere. It was just destroying its means to reproduce. It had to be something artificially made. And like that, it was like our people were reborn. Those that had fallen to despair and grief dragged themselves back up again. We were a doomed race. We all knew that. We had a few years left, aided by our stock seed supplies and lab-grown meat products, and we made the most of them. It took a few years, but analysis of earlier astronomical footage showed the arrival of a rogue comet in our system that fell apart within the inner system. A few weeks after that comet's arrival, the viral attack began. That's when it became painfully obvious that this wasn't an attack on our world, but on the entire solar system. We had to conclude that whoever done it had done so without them even knowing that we were even here. They murdered us without even noticing us. Bitterness there, anger, and a hint of despair that the voice had spoken of before, a cruel universe that wiped them out without even the dignity of an acknowledgement. Once we realized that, we that were left poured ourselves into two projects. The first being this message itself. We had originally started the message program as a way to find communication systems that could function over long distances with minimal lag time, even millions of miles. We discovered through study of gravimetric distortions that gravity waves could be used to dilate space and separate its layers.
Space has layers?
Now they were really intrigued, though equally sad for this dying people and angry at how they'd been mistreated. The Prayson were a pragmatic people, but also full of faith, and their gods were merciful entities that would never have allowed this to happen. Their world was a blessed one, seeming protected from harm, and now that was being shown to not be the case everywhere. It was a galling thought, and one that was already provoking the Prayson leaders to introspection. We found a way to efficiently transmit the signal through the layers of space that allowed the signal to travel at great speed with nearly no distortion or loss of signal strength, even over immense distances. This gave us a path forward and a means to succeed at our first goal, that being our gift to you, whoever you are. Embedded within this signal, this message, you'll find a data package. Within that data package, you'll find the sum total of humanity's knowledge, with 3 special sections. The first being a viral counteragent for the viral attack. We offer this because we believe that whoever sent that comet to our system did not choose us at random. Our people have spent so much time listening to the stars, looking for others, and finding none. We knew life was a powerful thing, and it could and would grow in all manner of hostile environments. So why weren't we finding any proof of it? This attack answered that paradox for us in a way that we could not have anticipated. What study we could put into it before the end indicated many systems showed signs of viral attack as well. With that in mind, we developed a viral counterattack agent that worked well if it is in place before the life-ender viral attack gets there. Study it as you wish. You'll find that it is sufficient to defeat the virus as long as it is in place before the attack begins. The second package is our data on the gravimetric communication system. Using this, you'll be able to reach out and find others around you in a way that we never could. Do so. Create a galaxy of life, of communication, and learning. Lastly, well, you would think by listening to me and this message that humanity was a glorious bunch, but we're not just the peaches and cream. We believed in a God of mercy and forgiveness. But when that God first started out, he was a God of retribution. They say that we were made in his image, so maybe it makes sense that we'd strike out, even as we're dying. We learned the trajectory of that comet, and other studies confirmed that other comets that we discovered were also coming from that same location. It was surprisingly easy. Maybe they just didn't think anyone would survive long enough to retaliate. Who knows? Our engineers and explorers, what few skilled people we had left, have crafted something in the asteroid belt of our system. It was, strictly speaking, an automated spacecraft, though it was mostly two caps on a long solid hung of tungsten, just about 3 miles in length. At one end, we put an automated navigation system. At the other, we put a propulsion system that creates thrust from having microwaves bounced around inside a vacuum-sealed container. It's called an EM drive, and you'll find the details on it in the technical data attached to this message. Essentially, we turned it on and aimed it at the people that killed our world. Our scientists say that the EM drive could get the ship to 72% of the speed of light before it impacts, destroying that world before it has a chance to even respond. That's a mercy compared to what they did to us. We spent our last years setting up transmitters in orbit on our moon and every other stable location that stood a chance of surviving in the long term without anyone around to maintain them, to send out this message. Shortly before the ship was launched, the last of our scientists that they be allowed to attach this gravimetric transmitter to the kill vehicle system when they realized how much space existed between our world and the world that murdered us. It'll pass by thousands of star systems that might hold life that had not yet been wiped out. We had always hoped that we would, one day, discover how to reach out and find others like yourselves, and find our place in the galaxy, perhaps contribute in some meaningful way. We were robbed of that for reasons we'll never know, but that doesn't mean that we'll still can't contribute. Use this knowledge to protect yourselves. Use it to find one another. Use it to reach one another and come together. We, humanity, wasted so much time coming together. If we'd only tried harder, earlier, maybe we might have had a better chance at survival. But you, whoever you are, you have that chance now. Please, make the most of it. Remember us. We are humanity. This message will repeat in 5 minutes. The conclave was silent for some time before they began to debate the merits and the veracity of the message. Hard questions were asked of the tech priesthood and its astronomers. The signal they were receiving was coming from a small backwater system in a nearby arm of the spiral, a dead world with no signs of life at all. Of the supposed weapon, there was no sign. The Praeson were very pragmatic and studious, but they moved with uncharacteristic speed for once, finally accepting the truth of the message, though that was made much easier by the obvious usefulness of the data package that had been found embedded in the message itself. It took them 2 generations to craft the transmitter and receiver, but eventually it was flipped on by the head priest Ranth, with the receiver keyed to a specific frequency of sublayers, only to find silence there. Silence persisted for long minutes until Ranth keyed the transmitter with one clawed finger and spoke into it in his native Praeson. "Hello?" A long minute before words came back to him through the receiver, speaking in that same binary language of the message. "Do you remember them?" Silence again as the conclave stared and muttered amongst themselves for another long minute before they spoke again. "We are the Praeson, and we remember humanity." End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.